Cell phones, please silence them.
Did we wait?
And can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Stern.
Yeah.
Commissioner David isn't here yet. Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Vice Mayor Moore,
Present.
Mayor Hillman,
Present.
Town Attorney Tresivia,
Present.
Town Manager Labadie.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, can we stand for the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next is approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or deletions? If not, can we have a motion to accept it as it stands?
So moved.
Second,
Seconded.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're on to presentations and proclamations. We have the Civic Plus people here, I assume. Correct?
Yes,
If you would come to the podium, introduce yourself.
they're actually online, but we do have Skinder that's present, town staff.
Okay, you're gonna handle that. Okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Skender Coma, Management Analyst. So at the last commission meeting on November 15th, I spoke a little bit about website enhancements, why we want to make them and who we want to go with, which is Civic Plus. You guys requested at the end a live demo in addition to all of the facts I laid out. So as requested, today we have on Zoom a couple members of Civic Plus to do a live demo.
Okay. Just for the record, Commissioner David is attending the meeting right now.
Hello, I believe my colleague Liz was going to say a few words.
Yes, thank you, Brian. Hello, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you so much for having us today. My name is Elizabeth Vesta. I am the account executive that has been working with Teresa and Skender on your website enhancement project. Brian Wheeler here is our solutions engineer and will be showcasing our solution for you and how easy it is to use. I will let him introduce himself and his background, and then he will share his screen and move forward with the presentation. Please let us know if you have any questions along the way.
Awesome, thank you, Liz. And I'm going to make sure I can share my screen. Looks like that's going to work. Okay, you should be seeing your current website. Is that correct?
Correct.
Great. My name is Brian Wheeler. I'm a solutions engineer at Civic Plus, but I was previously a customer with Civic Plus, and that's because I was director of communications for the city of Charlottesville in Virginia. And the move of our website over to the Civic Plus platform went so well that I wanted to work for the company. And in Charlottesville, I used this platform that you're about to see to transform how we engaged with our community. I've got a degree in government, and I've also been a local government journalist, an IT director, and an elected official. So I look forward to sharing that experience as we go through this demo. So I'm going to show you one of our customer sites running the Web Central platform as it's known, and I'll point out a few of the features here, but then quickly I want to get into the back end to show you how easy it's going to be for your staff to publish information. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to go ahead and talk. So this is Port Orange, Florida, and I'll point out a couple things about this site. Up in the top left, you can see there's the ability to create an account, and then over on the right side at the top to sign in. We strongly believe in having your residents sign into the website, and that's going to do a couple things. It's going to get you their email address and hopefully their phone number for text messages and alerts, but it's also going to let them start expressing their preferences for how they want to receive information and what information they want to receive.
Brian, do they have to sign in every time or is it just the first time?
They don't. It would just be to express their preferences, get logged in and pick the public bodies and different categories that they want to be notified about.
Well, that wasn't my question. The first time they go on the website, they have to sign in. If they go
They-
on
they
that site
don't.
2 days later, do they sign in?
That's entirely up to them. And they don't have to do it the first time. They only have to do it if they want to start expressing their preferences for what they want to be notified about.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
We have what are called mega menus, these drop-down menus at the top of the screen. Port Orange has 4 of them, including one that's a how do I menu. That's a common menu used across our platform because we know your residents are coming to your site with a purpose in mind. They're trying to accomplish a transaction, get a piece of information. We want to make sure they get where they want to go in 1 to 2 clicks. The way we do that is by looking at your analytics, getting your feedback about how you want the menus designed, but then also bringing our best practices into play. We've built thousands of these websites for local government across the country. Another key tool we have is the search. So I'm going to type in the word noise. Actually, I'm going to type in a different word. I'm going to type in the word permit, and you'll see here that it's a predictive search. So these are recommended resources that the resident can be directed to. Our search is proprietary. It's built solely on your content, so your web pages and your documents. We don't use Google search, so there won't be any advertisements. Between the mega menus and this predictive search, and then these graphic link buttons as I scroll down, these are the key ways we can drive people to the content they are most interested in seeing. And these are also things that can be customized by your team. So these graphic links can be changed at any time, as can these menus at the top. You don't need to come back to us to make a change to those parts of the website. And Port Orange is a good example. You can see with the recent hurricane, they added some content in the middle of their homepage to provide some additional resources to the community. Now, the reason I typed noise in that search box was that is a search I want to do. I'm going to press enter on that. And here I want to point out some of the ways we integrate other platforms. You are already Civic Plus customers because of Municode, so your codification services. So one of the benefits of a Civic Plus website is the ability to search across the different products in the Civic Plus family. So for example, we search for noise, and the first option is site content. So these are pages and documents on the website that have that keyword. But you could also look at the municipal code and see where noise is mentioned in the municipal code. You could look at ordinances being proposed to change that code. And then you could even jump to the agendas and the attachments for different meetings where that word is talked about. So the public doesn't need to know that these different products have been brought together. The experience they get, though, is the sort of personal, one-stop and frictionless search across all those different products. Any questions about that? As I come back to the home page, just want to scroll down here, past these graphic links. You can see there's their news that's being featured, but I want to take a look at their calendar. And I'm going to click on View All Events. And we'll go into the calendar on Port Orange. And a couple things I'll point out. I can drop down this list of calendars, and you can see that they have designated that I just see the city meetings if I'm coming in from the home page. But they could have designated more options, and the public at any time can pick which calendar they are interested in. You can create as many calendar categories as you want. So if I research on all events for all of the different boards, you can see the calendar fills up. And then a couple other things to highlight in this bar at the top. People can subscribe to the calendar. That means they can feed these events out to their Google Calendar or their Microsoft Outlook calendar. They can also consume the calendar via an RSS feed if that's something they use. But we talked about the login and getting notifications. So I'm going to click on Notify Me. And I'm going to scroll to the top of this page at Port Orange. So this is that sign up page. So if you clicked, website sign in, it would ask for your email address. Once you put that in, you can then start specifying if you want to get emails or text messages or both for any of these different categories of information. So here's the Agenda Center. These are all the different public bodies that you could sign up to get notifications for. The Alert Center, this is a module that's included with the Web Central platform. So whether it's emergency alerts or more routine alerts, you want to put a banner on the website and announce something, the Alert Center is how you do that, and the public can sign up for those. They're using our bids module, which is included. We started on the calendar module. So those are all those calendars. And then news. And you can see many departments having what we call a news flash. And in Charlottesville, I set up every department to have a news flash because all of them were wanting to share information with the public. And that's a great way to do that because it leverages this notification tool, Notify Me. Come back to the home page. And I'll just finish up by showing you that our goal is to have a mobile responsive website. That means it's going to look good on any device. So I want to show you what Port Orange would look like on a mobile phone. And I'll scroll down here and you can see everything has been restacked. That's what we call responsive. And if I turn the phone sideways, it takes advantage of that additional screen room. And you can see it's restacked everything again. And a great thing for your staff is they won't have to worry about what is it going to look like on a phone or tablet as they create new pages. It's just going to look good because we build them mobile first. So I've just given you a quick tour of this one website. Any questions before I go to the back end?
No, aren't any questions?
Okay. So,
Can I interrupt? I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I was toying with myself on this. In my experience so far with our residents, many of whom do not use our website, which is really an unfortunate situation. And I don't know about the demographics in Port Orange, but we do have a high percentage over 60, in fact, over 80. And I have found that a lot of them don't have a laptop, a desktop, do rely on their smartphone if they know how to use the smartphone. It's really gotten to that extent. So it is really important. I'm glad to hear that whatever you do on a laptop is automatically formatted for a smartphone. And I never understood it, but it seems to be almost 50-50 use of Apple iPhone and then all the other Androids. So there's no difference in the operating systems for these smartphones in your experience with this so far, correct?
No, the mobile responsive nature of this platform is going to work on any brand of mobile device.
Okay. And the other part in getting people to use this, it's nice that we're having this, and it's going to be a major step forward for Skender and our crew of staff and updating this and so forth, but it's the ease of use. And while I understand a lot of the innovations here are for the staff, key for me will be, will people use the website and be able to access it? And most people are interested in, 2 or 3 things. One is obviously the events calendar is important. Another is what's happening with the taxes and major projects in town. And then I'd like to think, we have a growing veteran community and they'll look at veterans. But you're saying that all of those, in your past experience, you're running into ease of use all the time from a usability. What comments can you make about that? That would be my only last point.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And certainly our goal will be to make it easy for your residents to find those important pieces of information. And that's something that our team is going to learn from you as part of the implementation. What do you think are those priority items? Let's look at the analytics and see what people are actually looking for on your site today. And there may be some that you think, well, they're not looking for it because they're having trouble finding it. And then we can just make sure that, for example, on this site, that there's a graphic link for one of those services. You know, this one has pay your utility bill. Maybe it's tax related. So these are buttons that you can also change. And they also don't have to be at this location on the screen. Your staff is going to be looking at a wide variety of website designs, and some of them put these buttons in different locations. Some of them hover across the bottom of the screen and stay persistent. On other sites, they stay sort of sticky on the left side.
Brian?
Yeah.
Would you bring up another client of yours?
Sure.
Another website? That way we can see some variations real quick. It might answer some questions for us.
Yeah, this is Carthage, Missouri. And you can see they've got an active alert on the top of their screen. So you will decide on the color and what this looks like. But you can see they've got 2 active alerts on the top. They've got their search up on the top. That's a design choice. They've got their mega menus, and they put them in a different order. You know, they've got the how do I menu in the middle, but they've got some persistent buttons on the left side of the screen. And then, as I mentioned, they've got their graphic links in a bar, and they could have decided to keep this bar fixed as I scroll down the page, right? Here's another example of how to treat the news, which is a little different than Port Orange. They've got good pictures on each news item here. And then here's their calendar, and it's a 2-tabbed calendar. So they've decided to differentiate between public meetings and events. You can have a 3-tab, 4-tab calendar. And again, that can be customized at any time by your staff. So this is, you know, one other example. Does
That's
that help?
Are we okay? You want to see more or no?
No, I'm good.
Everybody good? That's sufficient. Thank you, Brian.
Excellent. All right, so let's jump into the back end. This is my demo site. So this was not built by the design team at Civic Plus, but I tried to put some pictures here that you might be able to relate to. So this is the home page on my site. And I'll point out at the top, it says Live Edit is on. And as a system administrator on this platform, that means I can edit the things that I can see and that I have permissions on. So as I hover over these different boxes on the home page, you can see little controls appear. I've got some controls over here on the left side of my screen. So those are all parts of my editing toolkit. But as I drop down these mega menus, you can see there's the ability to add a page. So your staff will be able to just click that link, start a new page, and it will update the menus automatically. So that it's a real simple process on our platform. It's not so simple on other platforms. Often, especially on WordPress, like what you have now, people are having to go out and get a consultant to help out with something like that. We make it really easy for these things to be done by your team. So I'm going to go to a page that does not have any content right now, the administration page. And as we come into the site, it's going to load up some tools. I'm going to turn on the widgets over on the left side of my screen. So all of your staff who are editors or authors on the platform would see tools like this. And I'm just going to drag and drop. So I'm going to grab the editor, drop it into this rectangle. And I'm going to paste in some text. So this is an editor your staff are going to be really comfortable with. They know how to select text. They know how to make it bold. It's just like Microsoft Word or Outlook. We're also going to give you some fonts and styles that you'll pick as part of the design process. And that'll ensure consistency across departments and throughout the whole website. I'm going to hit the check mark on the right. That indicates I'm done editing. If I was ready to publish, I would just click save. There's no need to preview. This would go live. I know exactly what it's going to look like. But let's bring some other content over. I'm going to grab the slideshow. And you can see those little rectangles appearing. That indicates that's a place I can drop that tool. And it's a slideshow, so we're going to get some images. So you'll have a whole library of images. Permissions can be set on these folders. I'm going to pick 3 of the very attractive Chief Morale Officer at Civic Plus, Patty. And even this tool is really easy to use. You can just drag and drop these pictures. You can look at advanced criteria. Here's an accessibility guardrail, as we call it. We're going to make sure that all pictures have alt text. That's going to help make sure that they are described if somebody was using a screen reader. That way it can be read out loud to them. Pictures in a slideshow can link out to different resources, and then you can set a sunrise and sunset date for a picture. What that means is you could program a whole slideshow for a year, and the pictures would change according to whatever plan you wanted to put in place. I'm going to click Save Slideshow, and you'll see that just drops right on the page. And if we wanted Patty bigger, all I have to do is drag that divider between the 2 content areas. So this is really different than the editing process your staff is going through today. It's what you see is what you get. It's very simple, and it's drag and drop. Any questions about that?
No.
All right, I'm going to show you a couple other things you could do to enhance a page. I'm going to bring over the custom HTML tool, and you don't need to know anything about HTML or programming. This is a code that I grabbed off your Facebook page. So if you want to share social media or a video, you just grab that sharing code, paste it in, and that's how easy it is to get content like social media onto a page or even onto your homepage. Further, we can drop content that's come out of another part of the system. So let's drop the calendar onto this page. And it's going to put a proposed view of the calendar on the page. But, you know, I might be somebody who knows I like a different view. So I'm going to pick left grid. It's going to show a little thumbnail calendar. And then here you can choose from all the different categories that you'll build what you want to show on the calendar. So we could focus this on the commission, and I could change this heading to say upcoming meetings. And as I do that, it changes automatically. And again, your staff are going to have a lot of confidence that when they put a tool like that on a page, it's always going to be current because they're keeping these meetings loaded in the system, and this page will update automatically. So I'm going to hit save on that. And then the last thing I'll show you is an example of how easy it is to put things onto the calendar and get the email and text message alerts out. So I'm going to drop down the modules menu. These are some of the 40 modules that are included with a Web Central website, including Civic Send is one that you're going to be getting as well for sending out newsletters. But we're going to go to the calendar. And here are all those calendar categories that I had on my site. And I'm going to go to the building and planning calendar because I saw that you had an upcoming meeting. I believe it's tomorrow night on your marine facility regulations. So I've got a draft in here for that meeting. I've got a title. I've got the date. Let's pick a location. So I'm going to come down here, pick the town library. When you pick a location in the database, it knows where that is. So it's going to easily put a map on all those event locations for your public to benefit from. I grabbed some text off your website, added a picture, and then we can even add another picture here. So I'll come into the database. We'll go look at the logos. I'll type Highland. It's easy to search for pictures. Get that in place. You can see here I've got a website we can link out to for more information, to view those regulations. I've got Ingrid's contact information. And then really important down here, we can relate this one event to multiple calendars. And the reason that's important is your staff then only has to enter it in one place. So we started in building and planning, but maybe I know I want this on the home page. So I'm going to check off the main calendar. Maybe the commission plans to be there. So I'm going to check off the town commission, make sure it shows up on your calendar as well. And we're going to feature the event. So we checked a few boxes there. We added your logo and we picked the venue. And now all I have to do is publish. So I'll click Save and Publish. And then this is the Notify Me module stepping in and saying, hey, people have subscribed to the calendar. Do you want to let them know about this event? So we could change the subject here. We could say, this is a new event about the marine regulations. Here's the text message that's going to go out. Both are going to include a link back to the website. And then you can decide on what schedule to send those alerts. So I'm going to pick immediately and click send. So as a staff member, I hope you see how easy it is to publish information and get those alerts out. My watch just buzzed because I just got the text message that went out. But let me show you how it turned out on the calendar. So now as I come to the calendar on my demo site, you can see the event is featured over here. I'm going to click Event Details. And there's how it appeared. People can get in to view the facility, learn more about the location of the library. They can contact Ingrid. They can view the regulations. And then I'll point out that this little tool up here that's showing up, it's just because I'm logged in, again, in live edit mode. If I saw a typo in here and I wanted to fix it, I could just click that and modify this page immediately. I don't need to go search for it on the back end of the website. Live edit is really helpful, lets you fix things as you see them. The other modules, which involve publishing information like news, alerts on the website, agendas, they're all done in the same fashion. You go into a category, you enter your information, you hit publish, and then Notify Me offers to send out those announcements for you. So I'm going to pause there and see if there are any questions Liz or I can answer.
John, you want to kick off?
So one of the things that we'd like to encourage, I believe, is resident sending in photographs and videos of whatever. How are you thinking that we would manage that process? While we want to invite it, at the same time, we need to control it, obviously.
Yeah, well, any number of ways. I mean, one, I'll point out that in Charlottesville, we had a photo contest related to the launch of the new website. And so we did have people submit photos, and some of them are visible on the website today, a couple years later. So it's a great engagement tool, both for employees and for the community. We have some website examples where that's an ongoing thing. On some of our customer homepages, there's a button that says, submit your picture and get it on the homepage. So there are ways within the platform that you can create an online form. It allows people to upload an image that they've taken. And our forms module, which I didn't show you, but it's really powerful. It puts content into a database, and then it lets your staff view the submissions that have come in. They can get notified by email. There's a new submission. They can jump in the system and they can review it. So the forms module would be a great way to collect that information. And I definitely applaud the idea.
So again, I just want to make sure, if somebody wants to say upload 5 or 6 photographs, and we don't know what they are, they're not going to go live. It has to go to someone who then reviews it before it's officially, quote, published.
That's correct. That would be the best practice.
Okay, yeah, best practice and safe practice too, right? Now, how about links to, say, a newspaper like Coastal Star that has done a story and would like to, put it on our website as well? I don't know if they would be interested in doing that. Would that be an issue?
Well, I would say that would be between you and the paper and what they're willing
have
to.
you done it in other sites that you're working with?
You know what, in my past work, when I used to be an editor in a newsroom for a dozen years. And one of the things we did on our news website was we did feature links to other media resources. So just as an example there, you know, as long as you're taking a fair use sample and not replicating the entire article, obviously those publications want eyes on their websites as well. So I think if you worked out an arrangement where you were just linking out to them, you could definitely create a spot on the website to have news about being in the news.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Evelyn?
No, it seems like it's very easy to use, both for residents and staff. So that's a definite upgrade from what we have now. So sounds good to me.
Thank you.
David? All yours.
Yeah, it looks terrific. Do you have any input on how to get residents to begin to look at the website? They have so many choices, so many places. Is there any program, tutorial to get them to turn it on for the first time and see what it's all about?
Well, you know, it's a traditional communications and marketing challenge. And I think one opportunity you've got in launching a new website is to draw attention to that. So meeting with your local media, getting them to cover the launch, working with key stakeholders in the community that want to see information on the site, whether it's about a public meeting or some other initiative. And then I think it's all the things we usually do when it comes to marketing. It's using social media. In this platform, there will be ways that your staff will be able to post information and have it go at the same time straight to social media. And then the links will bring people back to the website. So I think part of the shift that's going to occur as you start using Notify Me and leveraging social media is, and you know, not everyone's on social media, so you have to cover lots of other bases too, but you're going to start drawing people back to the website to get content. And when they arrive on a site that's mobile friendly and designed to get them where they want to go quickly, they're going to find that to be a positive civic experience, one that they're going to want to repeat. So that's going to help you build those repeat customers. They're going to know this is something new. I'm going to try it out again, see how Highland Beach has done this time. And I think they're going to have a very positive reaction.
Yeah, could you comment a little bit on the security? Have you had any breaches on any of the websites that you've built for any of the other cities or towns?
Great question, and timely, of course, given the climate today. We have not had any breaches, period. And what I would say is this is a hosted solution. So we're going to take the worries about the hosting and security off your staff, because our team is going to take care of that. That was one of the key reasons Charlottesville picked Civic Plus, was to have a high degree of confidence in the hosting and security of the platform.
Okay, so then I imagine you also monitor for any downtime. Like how has the performance of your websites been? Have you had much downtime? Do you guarantee a certain amount of uptime?
We do. We will guarantee you in the service level agreement what's called 3 nines of reliability. That means 99.9% of the time we expect the website to be up. And that does not include, you know, standard maintenance, of course. But in practice, our performance has been 4 nines of reliability. So 99.99% of the time. So it's a strong record. We have a data center in Kansas, and we have a backup data center in another state in the United States. So this product is hosted here and highly reliable.
Okay, that's great. And how much support? So, I mean, it seems like to me you guys are building this website, and then there's a lot of functionality for staff to once it's built, lots of functionality for staff to make modifications. Once you're in that mode where it's built and then staff is kind of taking it over, like how much support do the staffs of these cities typically require of Civic Plus? Is it
So
minimal?
I think it depends on the team, but let me start by saying the team you have is going to be fully trained by Civic Plus on how to use this tool. We want you to be successful from day one. So as we're going to hand migrate your content to the new platform and then train your staff on that content. So they will train on the new website before it launches. Once it's launched, there are a number of tools available. So the usual ones: telephone, email, chat. Our telephone calls are handled by US-based representatives within 8 minutes of a phone call. Chat is in under 4 minutes. And I'm sharing my screen again to just point out the chat in the lower right corner. So here, this was how, when I had a question as a customer, I would come to the chat and just type my question, and within several minutes, somebody was giving me the answer. So that's always available. But then we also have help resources. So I'm just going to Google Civic Plus help, just take you to our Public Help Center. This is available right now. If I click on the right link. All right, we're talking about the central websites. So your staff have this available to them. If they were having difficulty adding a calendar item, they could just type add a calendar. This is also a predictive search, add a calendar event. And here they've got 2 ways to get to the answer. They can go step by step here through these instructions. This can be copied out to a training document, or they can do a click by click navigation to get to that point where they were having an issue. So our help resources online are robust. We freely share them. You can go look at these today if you had any questions. But I think there are a lot of self-serve resources available. But as I mentioned, it's also very simple. It's a very simple tool to use compared to other platforms. So I think your staff are going to find it very intuitive.
Okay, and sometimes you'll do stuff to a website, like maybe load a really huge video or a huge photo, and then it bogs down the page, really slows it down. You're trying to pull up that page on your mobile phone, and it's just so heavy. It takes a long time for it to load. The page speed is really low. Is that part of your training, or do you monitor the page speed performance on page? How do you deal with that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, that is a training issue to make sure the staff who are uploading images are uploading ones that, end up getting sized or resized appropriately. In Charlottesville, my team was a heavy user of Photoshop before we had Civic Plus. Once we had Civic Plus, all that editing could really be done within the platform very simply. So it is easy to change those things. But another thing you can do is set up workflows to get things approved on the website. So if you have people maybe who have author level permissions, but they can't publish, one of the things you can do is set up a workflow so that somebody is eyeballing that content before it goes live. And that's a good way to check in and see if an image maybe has not been loaded in the best optimal way. We also have then available to you Google Analytics. That'll be part of the back end, and you could certainly use that to look for any pages that were misbehaving.
And then my last question about videos. So loading videos, would you load, those can be really heavy. Do you allow the video to be loaded to the website, or does it have to be a third-party site like a YouTube or something like that?
I think, what I've found is the best practice is to embed content from another location so that you're not in the business of storing those videos and worrying about the size. Embed something from Vimeo or YouTube, Facebook, etc. And I think that's the optimal way to do it. It is possible to upload videos, but it depends on your bandwidth and then how it does when you want to show it.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Chief, do you have any questions you want to bring up? No, you're good? Okay. Glenn, anything from you? You're good? Marshall? Okay, I think we're all good. Thank you very much, Brian. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, it looks terrific and we look forward to it. One thought I had was just moving forward, every time there's a public meeting, we ought to seek input from our residents. So like we could have done it last night, we'll do it tomorrow night. And from now on, whenever we're together with residents, let's get their input. Okay, move on to public comments, 5 minutes per speaker. Anybody here want to make any comments? No? Anyone in the queue, Lynette? Okay, we'll move on. Announcements, we have 2 board vacancies for the Board of Adjustment and Appeals. They're both for 3-year terms. Financial Advisory actually has 4 vacancies. One for an unexpired term ending April 30th of 23. Another one, April 30th of 24. And then 2 vacancies for April 30th, also of 24.
That's for the natural resource.
I'm sorry, that's on natural resources, right? Okay, so there are there's 4. And then in natural resources, we have 2. And those are unexpired, go until April 30th of 24. It's interesting because we had the boards full for a while there, but now we got to get back after it, which we will. Upcoming meetings, December 7th at 6, that's tomorrow. That's the Marine Accessories meeting. That's to be held in the library. December 13th at 1 is code enforcement. 13th at 6 in the evening is the 3rd and final Marine Accessories. December 15th is the Mingle Jingle food truck event. Are we starting to get responses already, I would think? A lot of them. Okay, good. The last event, there were over 300, if I recall. Good. The 20, oh, by the way, I think there's 4 food trucks instead of 3 for this as well. So it'll go a little faster. December 23rd and 26th, town halls closed for the Christmas holidays, and January 2nd also closed. And then on January 4th at 1:30 is town commission meeting.
That's January 3rd. We apologize. That's a correction. Monday's off and then Tuesday is your commission meeting on the 3rd because 4th is a Wednesday.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business, which is the update on fire rescue. And we'll turn it over to Marshall.
Big action item before you this afternoon to get the aerial truck, the 2017 Pierce aerial truck. That's on your agenda. Chief and I and our implementation team are also working with the architect and contractors, tying down some loose ends on the massing. We looked at their first go at it. We're looking at a few changes on the roof line to try to get the massing to come down a bit so it's not so imposing. So we're hoping to have those probably sometime over the next couple of days to share with you. Working on the CM at risk contract. Mr. Rubin is working on that. So if we will have that in place so we can, transition from design into construction moving forward. I know Mr. Remus has worked with Kaufman Lynn trying to set out the parameters of a permit as you go. It's not as that simple, but we could do demo and site work start as we wait for the building shell, which then we can get a permit for finish. So we're going to work through that process to move it along quickly, but to also keep the building department reviewing that as we go. I know Chief Joseph also looked at our new, I'll send you some pictures tonight after the meeting. I just got them beforehand of the new EMS rescue. We have taken delivery-ish, if you will. I mean, it's still at the facility. They got to do a few things. But we've got that as well. So we'll have our 2 pieces of equipment by commission standard, hopefully here in the next couple of minutes. And then we'll be good to go there. But still, we're still focusing on that design and implementation. Few other things on the side, but those will come to surface over the next month or 2, but mostly focusing on the design and construction.
Okay, any questions? No? Anybody? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to new business. 11A can be found on page 8. That's a consideration of a request for Town of Highland Beach right-of-way permit for the property located at 2474 South Ocean Boulevard. Who is here that's going to take that? Nobody from there. Marshall, we'll give it to you.
I guess I will take that. Not as prepared as I would like to. I thought Mr. Remus would be here.
You want to table it, come back to it and give Jeff a call, tell him to come over?
Sure, yeah. you give
Why don't we
him-
do that?
Okay.
Okay. Or Ingrid if he's not available. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to 11B. That's to be found on page 16. That's the consideration to approve and authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Main Guy Landscape Services in the amount of $33,592.60 per year. It's for full landscaping services of the property, takes care of everything from hedges, trimming, weed control, you name it. Anything you want to add to that before we ask questions?
I was just going to see if you guys needed to go over the number of bidders we had and the bid amounts we received. I know there were some questions earlier today.
If you have the bid amounts, I'd love to hear them.
Sure. So we received 2 bids. One was from Model Row Landscaping, who is our current provider. They bid $36,120. The second was from Main Guy Landscape. They bid $33,592.60.
Obviously, we have checked their references, talked to other operations that use them. Got
We
a good
have.
feel. Okay, great. John, any questions?
Yeah, so what was the difference
About
besides the $3,000?
okay. The invitations to bid are our standard procurement process, not the most specialized, so it's mostly based on dollar value.
No, but was there anything different about what the services would be?
No,
Anyway,
no,
so it's the
identical services, identical bid sheet. They both turned in. It's just the dollar value difference.
Yeah, we spec the services that we want.
Okay.
That's it. Evelyn?
Yeah, do we know any of the municipalities that they service?
Not off the top of my head, but they do serve locally. They turn in 3 municipalities each in Florida.
Well, maybe somebody should see the work that they do.
We can look into it.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
David? No questions. Go ahead.
We had a resident come up and ask about like battery operated blowers, you know. I imagine that was not part of the scope of the
I don't know off the top of my head. I know we do require them to list the equipment they will be using, but we didn't make certain specifications, I don't believe.
okay. I don't know if that's something worth inquiring with.
Yeah, I was
someone.
just going to suggest we add that to the next meeting
Right.
agenda. And it would be discussion of battery operated blowers.
Equipment.
Apparently Palm Beach has gone to do battery only for quiet. Others are talking about it and considering it. I don't want to get into what it means. We've looked
Right.
into it, so I have some background on it.
Okay.
But let's put it on the agenda. So if there's anybody interested, they can either call in, be on Zoom, or come to the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
And then my only other question, how often do you put this? Is it every year you put it out to bid?
So for this one, we did the same model as the previous one, a 3-year contract with 2 one-year options to follow.
Okay, that was it.
That's it.
Yep.
I don't have any questions. I read through it. It looks fine. But it was brought up about the idea of physically going to look at the work they've done. Do you want to hold up approving this until that's done?
How long do we think that would take?
Well, Eric, I think we'd probably involve Pat.
We want to involve Pat, because he oversees landscape in the town, so I think he's out this week, but next week, we'll see if we could schedule something and go down and work that out with another municipality. So when's the next meeting? It's 2 weeks.
January.
January 3rd.
I think we could definitely get something.
We
by
don't
then.
have a December 20th meeting?
Is there not a meeting December?
We canceled that in the July 5th because of the holidays.
Okay,
Okay.
didn't realize.
Yeah, I feel confident that we can view their work by then and give you a report on that.
You comfortable with that?
Yeah, when do we have to let them know about this? When does our current contract run out?
Skinner told me it's December 31st is when this runs out.
It's okay. So our meeting.
We could check on that to settle the commission's concerns,
Yeah.
but I would potentially urge a approval, and we have the ability to cancel a contract in here for
For any reason.
performance.
Yeah.
If we find that other municipalities, we did check their references, but to see their work, I guess, while they're mowing, see if they've had any complaints with blowing it into people's yards or
Or
cars.
just what it looks like?
Mhm. Well, it's mostly mowing. 90% of this contract is just mowing. So.
Why don't we take that and do what is suggested, approve it. However,
Conditionally.
you are going to go take a look, report back if you're not comfortable with it.
Sure.
We can cancel and go back to where we were. Is that okay?
Okay, that works.
Okay, let's make a motion then.
I move that we approve the agreement to have Main Guy Landscape Services provide landscaping services for the town properties in accordance with ITB number 22-005. Condition to seeing what they've done in other places.
I'll second that.
Well, time out. I understand that's seconded, but it's not a condition. We're going to approve it. They're going to go take a look. If they're not comfortable, we'll then cancel it.
Okay, remove the conditional
Okay.
part.
Second still. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item C, which is consideration to approve and authorize the town manager to make a best interest purchase of a 2017 Pierce ladder truck, which is a hook and ladder truck. We've already seen the photos of it in the amount of $830,000 for the fire rescue department in accordance with the town of Highland Beach purchasing policy. And here comes the chief. You want to add anything before we discuss it?
Glenn Joe, the fire chief. No, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. We went to Alabama last Monday. Operated the truck, it looks in very good condition. I'm very impressed with the condition it's in. And I think it'll fill our needs very well.
Great. John, do you have any questions?
I do. I hope not to be redundant with past questions, but again, who is actually selling it? It's not the town, right?
Yes, it's there's district, a fire district up in Alabama. And they get their funding from subscription. So their residents subscribe for fire protection. And apparently they've had a downturn in subscribers, so they've had a loss of income. And so they've had to kind of moderate the services they provide. So what they're hoping to do is to sell this unit to us, hopefully, and then from the money gained, be able to buy another pre-owned unit and pay it off in cash to reduce their overhead.
So a smaller unit or something.
Smaller unit to reduce their overhead.
And so it's not through a broker.
Well, we've got the truck through a broker because the broker's selling it for the town.
Okay.
But I went to the fire station themselves. That's why the pictures were taken that you saw was at that station.
Okay. And in this price that we're paying is a broker's fee.
Yes, that's the total price.
Seller is paying the fee.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, hopefully. It's a 2017 Pierce. I want to put in Arrow, but no, it's a Pierce 107. PUC. What is?
It's a type of design. It's actually the pump design that they use. It's unique to Pierce. All of the critical parts of that unit is placed in a way that's accessible. If you saw the picture where I flipped the cab, everything is right there. And that's just a design that they use to maintain.
Okay.
And they use some electronics to balance the truck out. So it's just a marketing thing.
Okay, and I'm just want to make sure I understand because I love this sort of stuff. Aerial ladder quint. What is the quint?
Well, it's because it has a mast stream, the nozzle at the very top. can put out, I think it's 1,500 gallons per minute. It's called a master stream because that's on a ladder. It's called quint. So you have a ladder, a master stream, elevating master stream, and ground ladders at a pump. So that's the quint part. So you have a fire truck with only a pump, hose, et cetera, and so on. And then you have a fire truck with only a ladder with no hose stream going, so you could shoot water at the top. And then you have one that has all of them. That's called a quint. It's just a technical term.
Okay, coming back then, spare parts. Now I see that we get a complement supply of ladders, ground ladders, but any other parts that we would be getting with this,
Well, the ground ladders come with the unit
right?
and the nozzles come with the unit. And that's really about it. We have to purchase everything else that goes on that truck.
Okay, and there are,
So fire hose, fire extinguishers, tools and equipment, et cetera, and so on.
A hose.
Yes, fire hose.
Gotta have a hose.
Needs fire hose.
Now, the last question is, the ladder is 36, as I remember, feet long, 36.
39 foot 6 inches.
39, 6 inches, that's right.
And the bay length is designed to be 45 feet.
And so that would reach 6th floor? Most.
It's 100 and, well, you can't do it that way because the angle of attack for the ladder tells you how high it could go. So depending how close to the building you could get, it will tell you how high it could go. Because we usually try to get to around a 70-degree incline for the ladder. So if you're on the road going, it'll be probably first or second floor. If you're right next to the building, you go up higher. But they're designed to be around 100 feet. And each floor is about 10 feet per floor. So you're looking at, so it's
Around 10.
right.
Floors. The best case is 10 floors, but I'm just,
Yeah.
that would cover a lot of our buildings, I think. I mean.
Well, right now we have a 75 footer.
Yeah,
That's what Delray uses in the town. And they've been using it for years. So that's.
so I think we would have very good coverage then. I mean, yes, Toscana is a little higher, a little different, and you can't get that close, but still.
John,
Okay.
the reality is they can't even get to many of the buildings, period.
Right, I know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. that's
And the
problem.
ones they can get to, generally they can get to the front, but they can't get to the back.
Right.
So anybody that's on the back,
That's right.
like you and I, like you are and like I am.
So the standard requires that, if you have high-rise buildings, that you have a quint for protection. That is just the standard. That's the standard nationally. How useful it is on every situation, it will depend on, first of all, we have to pre-plan the buildings, make sure we know what the situation is as far as parking and all the other things that go into what you pay me to do, which is pre-plan, make sure that things are ready for emergencies. And then contingencies are written in the plans so that if there are any unexpected incidents, then we could address to them.
And again, this is a diesel
Yes, it is.
truck.
We
And,
don't want gasoline. Diesel is the only way.
Right, diesel. How often do you change your oil? No. Only kidding. Thank
The
you.
morale's on the engine, we do it on a scheduled basis.
Okay. Thank you. I'm good.
Hi, 17,000 original miles. What do you usually expect to get from a ladder truck?
Well, depends on use. Again, our use profile is minimal at best. So we usually go by the hours on the engine.
Okay,
And so this is very, very low hours. The miles could be an issue, but we have 3 square miles, so we're not gonna have a whole lot of miles on the
Right.
unit. So we'll probably look at, for replacement, which is where I think you're going,
Mhm.
is the number of hours on the engine. And technology changes. As technology evolves, sometimes over the next 10 years, you don't know what new technology may be evolving, so you may want to address it through a new purchase. But in an area like this one, Boca Raton, Delray, Boynton Beach, we're looking at usually for those units about 15 to 20 years of service,
great.
depending
you.
depending on use.
Yeah, so this is a good purchase.
It's
It's a
an
good
outstanding
price
purchase.
and it's a good purchase for us. Thank you.
David,
Are there any differences between this truck and the trucks that we're using now?
Well, this truck is 107 feet. The ladder is able to reach 107 feet. The current one that Delray using is 75 feet, which is also your truck. It's a 75 foot. Same essential design, rear mounted platform. So it's articulating over the building. And it's just, this one is designed, I think the one you have right now is aluminum. and this one is going to be metal. But the weight is about actually less. The new truck is weighing less than the current truck because of the design. They use computer-aided design to minimize the amount of metal and weight on the unit itself, and they use some cross membrane to stiffen the ladder itself, so it could actually be as strong or stronger with less weight.
Would you use this as your primary truck or as your backup truck?
Probably as the primary truck initially. What we'll probably do is rotate them through to get them used. So we'll use this one because we want the personnel to be very familiar with both types, because they're essentially similar, but not exactly the same. This one's the more advanced. The one we're looking at to buy is more advanced as far as this technology. So we'll want to be able to rotate them through, or decide that, hey, we're just going to use this one till it falls apart and use that one when that falls. That's going to be a decision made on the fly, I guess, as the process develops and have more input from the captains on shift.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. This is a great purchase and we're going to get it right away instead of having the long wait
Correct.
time. So where are you going to store it once you get it? Or was
That's a very good question.
I was gonna talk to you about this after the meeting.
Driveway.
Yeah, what your driveway.
How big your garage is.
We have several options.
Oh,
Okay, so the people that are actually making it available to us tell us if we don't need it right away, they'll store it in North Carolina for us.
Oh, nice.
No charge, but it's gotta be stored outside. I'm making some arrangement with some people in Tennessee that will store it indoors and run it for us, and we'll, as long as we need it to do. If we bring it down here, then we have to have some options as far as local storage, which we're working through the details of that right now.
Oh, okay. That sounds good.
So we have
Um,
several contingencies.
Okay, that's good. And then you mentioned it was metal. So is there a concern for rust for the salt air that we have here?
Well, the designs and the metals that are used nowadays are a lot more robust than what we did before. The technology has evolved a lot. We use, I don't see that as a major concern. Although we are close to the ocean and there will be some degradation from rust, but I don't see it as a major concern at this time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Did you work out housing for the ambulance?
Yes, we're working on that locally as well. Yeah, we have a bay that's available just in front of the library in the utilities building. So we're cleaning that out for
Great.
storage.
Excellent, okay. We received 3 or 4 different executions of graphics for the ambulance,
Yes,
and it was asked for input. The graphics that we use on that would be somewhat similar to the graphics on this. We would make whatever minor adjustment we could make. But where do we stand on that?
well, we have to keep in mind that the graphics that we choose need to fit on both units.
Right.
And I'll let Mr.
So-
Marshall.
We got
Now,
some
wait a minute,
feedback.
don't back out on that.
We got feedback, and the two main things, the white is the predominance of color on the vehicle. But there's a little bit of, stripe and then half red, half white. So we're gonna have to go back to the designer, get it down to 2 options, and then bring it back to you all to say this option or this option. So we've taken it from, we started like 9, we're down to probably about 2, and then we'll bring that to you all for review.
So the feedback you got from my associates was not all consistent then?
Correct.
Okay,
As I would imagine, right?
Yeah. fine.
You got to remember, I'm the guy that my wife puts tags on my clothes.
I vote for her.
Don't be a better plan.
I don't have any further questions. Congratulations, by the way, on finding this. You've obviously taken care of the time issue that you were mentioning earlier. Saved the town a whole bunch of money here, which is very much appreciated. So thanks for a good job.
Thank you.
And just if I could back off that just for a moment, for record, under best interest acquisition, there has to be the rationale as to why we're doing this out of the non-traditional methods. Delivery. So instead of waiting 30 months, we got it now. And that means we can meet our go live date of May 24. Cost, instead of 1.5 million, we're at $830,000 for a functional device. 2, they're both Pierce 2017. So the interoperability to training and bringing everything together the major mechanical components match, tire size, it's the same between the units. So the training and maintenance. So those are the main reasons why that works. With that being said, 4 of the 5 of you have to agree with that today.
That brings us to
Motion.
page 226, which is the resolution of Town Commission of Town of Highland Beach, Florida, amending resolution number 2022-020, which appropriated funds for the 2022-23 fiscal year and providing for an effective date. I'm one ahead.
Yes, you're one ahead.
Well, let's back up. Consideration to approve and authorize the town manager to make the best interest purchase of the 2017 Pierce ladder truck in the amount of $830,000.
I move we authorize the town manager to make a best interest purchase of a 2017 Pierce ladder truck in the amount of $830,000.
I'll second that.
I think we need a roll call.
Commissioner David,
Yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moore,
Yes.
and Mayor Hillman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Now we can move on to page 226. And that's the resolution I just read, which goes from 2022-20, which appropriated the funds for the 2022 and 2023 to 2023 fiscal year budget and providing an effective date. Turn it over to you, Dave.
Yes, as you fairly stated, this is the budget amendment. As we discussed during the budget cycle, every time we have one of these major purchases, obviously for the fire rescue project, we will be coming to you with a budget amendment. That way I can tell you where these funds will be coming from, right? We know that we have a loan, right, through Synovus. We're not touching that because that's for construction related only. So this will be coming out of the $4 million that the board had segregated for in our fund balance, our excess cash reserves. And I did the budget amendment for $850,000. The reason why is because I anticipate additional expenditures related to transportation. Now, if you want me to drive it down, that's awesome. I'd like to try that. But transportation, delivery, whatever miscellaneous. But for now, right now, we only plan on stroking one check at this moment for the $830,000. But there could be other type of there's no tax tag and title and all of the jazz. So staff is asking for your proposal if you have any questions or asking for your approval.
Yep. Anybody have any questions before we?
No.
No.
I move we
Well,
approve.
well, we got a
Oh,
question
wait.
here.
One question. In your numbers, as it relates to all this equipment, have you factored in any change in insurance?
No, we have not. Not for this. Right now, we're buying it. We will, obviously, it will be insured. The town has also an umbrella policy, right? So anything that isn't specifically included in our list of assets, I think we have $15 or $20 million worth of excess insurance to cover other things that may not be on our list of it. But that's a very good option. That's probably where some of that $20,000, you can think of maybe, I don't know, I would think that it may cost $5,000 to insure a fire engine, but I'll find out.
Now your motion.
Well, I just have, and the 20,000 also would include any storage costs that we would incur.
Yeah.
Because of all that.
Yeah, exactly. And again,
Any-
but anything related to, ideally you want to think of an asset to bringing it into service, right? Inspections, right? Delivery, testing it, things like that. So that's why, right now, we have $20,000 that we can play within that. And once that's exhausted, if I need more related to this, obviously I come to you.
Everybody satisfied?
I move we approve resolution number 2022-033.
Second,
Roll.
Commissioner David,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moore,
yes.
Commissioner Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Yes.
and Mayor Hillman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back up to item A. Jeff, if you would come help us out here. This has to deal with the right-of-way permit request.
Absolutely. My apologies for the delay. It's first day back and I'm having a hard time getting off the phone with associations right now. Jeffrey Miss Building Official, Town of Highland Beach. This is the basically a right-of-way permit request for 2474 South Ocean Boulevard. And the owners of 2474 South Ocean Boulevard has submitted a building permit and a right-of-way permit to replace their existing driveway. Part of the work in the right-of-way is on A1A, and the applicant has already received approval from FDOT and submitted plans to the town that match the drawings that were already approved by FDOT. But per the resolution, until the RRR project is really completed, that's why we're here for town commission approval for the right-of-way permit. They do have representatives here to answer any questions you may have. And if you have any questions for me, but there should be in your packet a copy of it. They're just replacing the driveway. And there's going to be some landscaping involved. I think eventually they started tearing out some landscaping to kind of get an idea what it's going to look like. But recently I received and they're going to have to answer questions about this. I've received 2 emails where they want to now not rescind the right-of-way permit because they can hold on to that, but they want to rescind they may be rescinding the driveway replacement permit for the portion in the right-of-way because they don't want to do work and then have FDOT come in and tear it out. Although it may only be 2 or 3 feet that FDOT's going to have to replace anyway. But that's it. It's straightforward. It's already approved by FDOT.
Okay, good. John, anything?
So it's approved by FDOT. It's already been planned. You've got all of the plots and whatnot. I can't even bring up swales. I mean, there's nothing else. I mean, it's straightforward. So I don't see any problem here, is there? Any
No.
issue that we should know about?
So the only issues that you should be aware of is that during some really high rain events, we had water that was crossing over the crest of A1A from the east side to the west side, which was contributing to flooding their property. So I then investigated and took the code compliance officer with me, and we discovered that the water was pouring down one of the neighbors directly across the street, the one directly to the south of 2575, the brand new home that went in. The house just to the south of that, their driveway was like a river every time it rained. So we went and we addressed that with a code case, and they have since submitted to do drainage repair to control the water on their property. So now that they're going to control the water on their property, which was causing a problem for everyone else, I've spoken with the contractors for 2474 and said they're going to keep their side of the street clean. Now the expectation is you're going to keep your side of the street clean and make sure that all of your downspouts are controlled before we'll go ahead and sign off on your stuff.
Excellent. Well done. You okay?
Good.
Ethel?
So then
On top of it.
the plans that they have submitted will take care of that, because that's the big deal is the drainage.
Right. Well, we haven't approved it yet because we're still waiting on a plan. But at this time, they may be, again, they may have to answer the questions because they don't want to do the portion of the job in the right of way. I think they only want to do the other component. And in my last email, which was even actually from this morning, was a reminder that we need a plan for your stormwater. So
Okay.
we got your neighbor to take care of the problem that was contributing. Now it's your turn to take care of your side.
So we might look at this pending approval of that plan.
Yeah, I mean, we can't approve something that we don't know what it is we're approving.
Well, you do.
Well, not really, if they have to amend the plan.
Well, they're not going to amend the plan in the right of way because all of the work that they're going to do is going to be to control the stormwater is going to be on their property. So we'll have nothing to do with the right of way. It's going to help protect and reduce the amount of water coming to the right of way, but it's not going to affect the work that's planned in the right of way.
Okay.
So these are 2 separate issues.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's any reason to, in my opinion, to bind those 2 together.
And that is also covered by FDOT.
No, FDOT doesn't cover their drainage. We cover their drainage. that's coming from the property.
Okay, yeah. But the R program is going to affect this, right?
It's going to hopefully help it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
If, I'm sorry, you finished? Let me just jump in for a second. If they move forward on this, we all move forward on this and they decide to opt out of taking care of the drainage problem, because they are two separate issues, as you said, where do we then stand?
I don't issue a permit.
No, but if they say, I changed my mind, I'm not going to do anything about,
He doesn't.
so we should.
Then they don't do anything because I don't issue, I will not issue a permit unless the drainage is taken care of.
For this.
Then then they do nothing.
Well,
And,
then-
and if it can, and let's say, and not being, just being generic here. They already said they're going to comply if we see now that the neighbors are taking care of the problem on their side, if we have what's considered a public nuisance with a lot of drainage coming from their property out, then I just start a code case and we force them to take care of the drainage anyway.
So to simplify things, I'm sorry to refer to you as they, I just don't know your name. Okay. If we just have a note agreeing to that, then I would be more comfortable. To take care of the drainage issue as he spoke.
Okay, well, we can address that.
Okay, well, let's see what my associates
Yes, yeah.
say.
I'm Guybert. I'm good.
Yeah, and so I think another key reason for bringing this in front of us is also to remind you, and it seems like you guys, based on your comments, you already know that things can get torn out when the R project starts. I think that was a big reason why we had this extra layer. So, but it sounds like you all are fully aware of the R project and what could potentially be ripped out, which is, I guess, is why they're potentially not going to do the section that is in the right of way, and they'll wait until after.
Correct. And if they decide not to do that, then they will only have a permit issued solely for the work on their property, which does not require right-of-way approval and does not require commission approval. That's a straightforward building permit. That's why I prefer not to tie those two together, because we have to take care of that on our end. And they've already agreed to take care of drainage issues verbally.
Mhm.
But if that's not addressed in their paperwork, then they're not going to be able to do anything, because there will be no permit issued at all. But that shouldn't prohibit what FDOT has approved and what they have intentions of performing in the right of way, because the drainage is a property issue. It's not, which could leak out to the right of way. But I think you're looking for an extra layer of protection to, I understand now.
But you're only asking for
I'm finished.
Mr. Mayor, you're only asking for this extra layer of, confirmation that they're going to do something, when in fact, we have recourse anyway. So it doesn't matter if.
Our recourse is arduous to start with. And our responsibilities represent everybody in this town, not just this. And people change their minds, and people sell their properties and move on, and somebody else comes in and they say, what are you talking about? Take care of this. So I'm just suggesting that it might be beneficial to all of us to have that extra layer of protection. That's all.
Okay.
Please come up.
Steve Garchik.
Hi, Steve.
How are you? My wife and I own the residence. So first thing, I'm not convinced that I have a drainage problem. I mean, the waters come from across the street from the day I moved in there. And anyone that drives up and down the road can see it splash across over to my property. My property is a low point, so it naturally collects some of the other people on my side of the street as well. But if, we do some calculations or whatever is required by an engineer and determine that we're contributing a drainage problem, we'll take care of that when we redo the driveway. Okay. But yes, it would have been nice for the last 4 years we lived there if someone else had taken care of the problem that was creating most of the water on our property. So I'd like to believe that everyone here does want to represent all the homeowners and not just attack me for something that I didn't even do and perhaps doesn't even exist. So I'm not sure I agree with what you said earlier. But irrespective of that, we'll now that we know about this project along the right of way, we're going to decide if it makes sense to put it in and then have it ripped out and assume the state will put it back the way it was, which doesn't sound like the right answer. But, we have our property, some of the driveway's been torn up. The existing driveway's been torn up to get some pipes fixed for the water line to the property. So we'd like to get this going expeditiously and therefore would appreciate your signing off to the extent we need that so that we can proceed. Thank you.
I might recommend that any landscaping you pull out, you don't replace till after the 3R, because you don't know what else they're going to pull out.
Some of it's against the house.
Oh, well, that'd
be different.
yeah, that's different, but anything up towards the street probably shouldn't be replaced.
Let's ask counsel. Glenn, are you comfortable with the statement that was just made covers us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's move forward then, not require it. And we totally agree with you on not going in there and finishing it off before they're going to come rip it up.
Okay, so
Okay, so we need a motion to approve.
I move that we approve the right-of-way permit for 2474 South Ocean Boulevard to redo their driveway with the in the right-of-way because they have permission from FDOT.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you got it.
Happy holidays to you.
Okay, let's move on now to commission meeting approvals. Interesting. Okay, this can be found on page 230. I saw one small thing on page 230. Under 4, approval of the agenda, second line. Starts with item 9B, resolution number, and then it goes on and says item 9B. Again, it should be 9C.
Okay.
Where are you at now? Hey.
I'm on page 230, number 4, second sentence on number 4.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Okay, does anybody have anything else?
Yeah, I had another minor little typo on page 236. Under, let me get there. Motion, at the top of the page under motion, Hillman Shoemaker move to approve resolution designating instead of designing.
All right,
Easy.
yes.
Easy to,
Okay,
not
Yeah.
even spell check would have caught that one.
I'll make those changes.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
okay,
Thank you.
good get on that. Anybody have anything else? If not, do we have a motion, please, to approve?
Yeah, I move that we approve the minutes as amended for November 15th, 2022 and November 22nd, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, item F, there was a discussion of Senate Bill 4D. That's the bill for the 2 phases of condos and HOAs, by the way. HOAs are included in it as well. And it has the requirement for the reserve study and the reserve funding. And for anybody watching, in the reserve study and funding, it is specifically against about 9 items, all dealing with the stability and the condition of the building. It doesn't have anything to do with all the ancillary items like elevators, air conditioning systems, generators, etc., not included in the bill. So there's 2 parts to this discussion. Part 1 is the reserves and the reserve study, and part 2 is the requirement to have 2 phases on recertification. Phase 1 is a relatively brief look by a qualified engineer. And if he or she sees no issues at all, building passes, appropriate paperwork is filed. If there are problems, Then they go on to phase 2, which is to be done in the next 180 days. And phase 2 is a detailed structural inspection. It might include chipping away, might be concrete testing, et cetera, et cetera. The first problem is the first 180 days. We have a recertification program that gives 360 days. This requires it in 2 segments. First segment, phase 1, has to be done within 180 days. Our question is, first of all, we don't think 180 days is appropriate, but that's besides the point right now. This bill all takes effect 12/31/24, effectively January 1st of 25. Therefore, does the 180 days have to be handled now, or does that also take effect? So we're going to research that to make sure. But it appears as though everything takes effect at the end of 24. Therefore, we can continue with their 360-day notice. If not, we'll obviously abide by whatever the findings are. The second part of that is to do phase 2 inspection. If things are identified in phase 1, it's almost impossible to do that, because if in fact the building contracted an engineer, the engineer got together, they got the bid package out, they decided who their contractor was, and if the contractor could start work, phase 2 would happen during the work that's being done. So that's impossible. You can't do that. Example, if you're doing sides of a building or the building front, well, they have balconies. Probably the balconies are issues. So they'll set up their swing stages and they'll work top to bottom. Then they'll go to the north or the south or whatever to the next. And then they'll do top to bottom. So there's no possible way to do a phase 2 inspection while you're in the midst of repairing what was already found. So the whole timing doesn't make any sense. And I assume they're going to be looking at it. The second part of this is the reserve study and reserve requirements. I believe that with recertification, all these buildings are going to be in good shape, or they won't pass the recertification. So once you pass recertification, you are then deemed structurally sound. And then included in it, in the recertification, is there is a 7-year or a 10-year follow-up that you have to do it based on the age of your building and location. So if you're doing that anyways, and your building is structurally sound, and you're required to check it again in 7 years, why didn't you do a reserve study on these items that have been found to be structurally sound or been repaired? And I think it's gross overreach on the part of any governmental agency to be telling people what to do with their money. If you want to save against it, fine, save against it and have a reserve study. Or if your building doesn't have a reserves and you want reserves, you can open up your own account and put money away. But to tell people haphazardly like this for the entire population of a building to be putting money away, I think is terribly wrong and unnecessary. That's my feeling on it. Okay. So I'm going to open it up for discussion. John, start with you.
I guess I know how you feel.
Well, obviously, the discussion will be if we as a group don't think it's right, then we'll move on to discussing what we might do about it.
No, clearly there's a disconnect between phase 1 and phase 2. When you know that in phase 1, you've uncovered some problems, they have to be addressed by the time it takes to get a contractor, which is brutal right now.
Yep.
To even start work, get parts, get manning, the manpower lined up. So the 6-month thing is going to be.
We anticipated that, and that's why we gave.
So that's the
65.
problem. The other problem is that what's in the bylaws as the responsibility of the owner versus what the association has in their requirements. And what the association has in their requirements then determines what must go into reserves. So that, for instance, windows and sliders can be a big item, $400,000 item. And is it the owner of the unit that's responsible? Well, under a lot of bylaws, it is the owner. But under this program, I believe they're switching to the association being,
No, those are not included as structural items.
I understand,
So
but
they don't make any difference on this. They're not part of
and
this.
on this bill 4D, I believe in one of the drafts, it says windows. And
It does not say windows and sliders.
It doesn't.
No,
So then it would be up to the association.
whatever your association documents say, that's what you would be ruled.
Really? You're sure about that?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll take that. Then the other issue is the 10 or so categories that you have to put reserve monies in, or those items that cost more than $10,000, correct?
Well, it goes a little beyond that. They have to cost more than 10,000. It has to be part of deferred maintenance. And you, as the board of the building, decides what is and what is not deferred maintenance. So for example, a $15,000 item that affects the structural soundness of the building, if you think that's deferred maintenance, you put it on your sheet. If you think it's something you would just pay for out of your contingency fund, then it's not deferred maintenance.
So agree 100%. The issue, I think, is, or at least I'm not clear on, is if the monies are in those categories, and then all of a sudden you have a problem with one that takes more money that's in that
No,
box.
you can pool them. You have a choice of pooling it.
And
or identifying.
is that resolved? Is it going to be
That's in the
quote,
bill.
fully funded versus pooled?
No. The bill says you could pool it, or you can identify the 9 items. If you identify the 9 items, you are specifically putting money against those. And then you cannot take it from that item to do anything else with it. If it's pooled, you can spend that money against anything, any of those 9 items.
And so the point is that beginning on January 1/25, we'll still be able to use pooled reserves.
Absolutely.
Because there has been at least one webinar that will say to you, well, we're not sure. It could be that they will only require fully funding, which means that in December of 24, if the residents vote to continue pools for another year, then you wouldn't have to comply with this until January 1 of 26.
No, it's being misinterpreted. If nothing changes, you have to be in compliance on the 1st of January 25. And fully funded means you have funded the first year of the life expectancy of that particular item. So if it's an item that has a life expectancy of 10 years, you have to have it 10% funded.
Right.
If it's 50 years, you have to have it 2% funded.
The question is, what do the associations do right now?
Everything. I know of one association that has every 5 years to do a reserve study and they fund their reserves against it. The vast majority of the associations do not fund reserves. Period.
It's a mess.
Now, whether you do a reserve study or not is, up to the board of each building. Anything else?
Well, then my last question is, what's the penalty for non-compliance?
Nothing in there that I saw on penalty.
Nothing. Wow, okay. Good.
Well, if you don't comply, the board has a fiduciary responsibility to comply, number one. So the board is now putting themselves at risk. Your insurance won't cover you because you haven't complied with the law. Okay. But somebody has to report you and it needs to be followed up on, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know if there's any specific, you can jump in, Glenn, if you got something.
Thank you. The mayor and I spoke about this earlier, and everything I'm hearing is that this is going to be addressed in the upcoming session of the legislature. They passed something in a rush. They had a committee, made a lot of good recommendations. Many of those recommendations got lost in the sausage making of Tallahassee. And from what I'm hearing, you're going to see some substantial revisions because this is not the only community. We're not the only condos in the state of Florida. And there's lots and lots of pressure being put on the legislature to say, what did you do? You just didn't fix the problem. You made a
Worse.
right. You made it put a plug in the dike, but you didn't look at the overall thing and maybe you got more, holes popping out. So I'd be very surprised if you didn't see a substantial rewrite in the next few months.
Okay.
But until then, you're right. You got to study it. You got to be prepared because it is currently the law. Although every expert that I'm hearing, they're predicting it's going to be changed. I have a feeling our own state representative might have a hand in pushing some of that issues too.
Yes.
So the question is, for an association that doesn't have reserves, I'm not speaking about my own condo, but what should they do? What is the recommended practice between now and 25?
I think you've got to start planning for this. You've got to start studying it. You've got to go to these webinars. You have to assume this is going to be some version of reserves. It's probably going to be in the final law, right? I find it hard to think they're going to say 0 reserves after all the uproar. I also find it hard to believe they're going to be as strict as they currently are. So somewhere in that middle ground is probably where the legislature is going to land. But I think you can't just put your head in the sand and say, oh, this is going to blow over. They're going to repeal this all. Right? That's pretty unlikely.
Okay.
Very good.
Evelyn.
Well, 2 things to start. It's pretty obvious that whoever passed this does not live in a condo. These are people in homes, not in condos. They have no idea how it works. That's to start. You have to do a reserve study. You need to know where you're going, because among other things, the impetus behind this was that at Surfside, some people wanted to do the repairs, some didn't. They didn't have the money. So now they want to change it so that you do have the money, and there is no question the board should vote to do the repairs because the money is there to do it. Now, once you get past that, from recent experience, I can tell you it can take you 6 months to get, well, more than 6 months, to get the engineer, to get the bid package out, to get the bids in, to do contract negotiations, and that's before you pick up one shovel.
Right.
So there's your 180 days before you even do anything.
Yeah.
Because we just did that on our garage, and it back and forth on the contract negotiations way longer than anybody anticipated it taking.
That's because you have 4 lawyers on your board. I'm kidding.
They should have had 6. It would have been a lot better.
Okay.
But we're now doing this. We did it with our garage. We're now doing it with the tower, and it takes a very long time. And then you have to be, once you pick a contractor, you have to get on their schedule because they're not sitting around and waiting for you. So they've got, if they're any good, they've got projects underway that you have to wait till they complete. And you don't want them to rush someone else's because then they're going to rush yours. So yeah, the timing leaves a lot to be desired. What we do about it, I don't know.
And if I may, to piggyback on what you're saying, think of it. The town goes out for the RFP process on a routine basis. We have a staff that's familiar with it. They do it all the time. And it still takes time to do this. You're asking hundreds, thousands of condos around the state who don't normally go through this process to now learn on the fly a complicated process. You know, prediction is going to, if anybody wants to make some money, there's going to be a cottage industry of people who do this. They say, you know, we're your condo RFP website. Come find us and we will help walk you through this process. There's going to be a lot of cottage industries.
Yep. David?
Interesting topic. I agree with everything it said about this is going to be changed. I really believe this can be changed. Now, speaking of one who does a reserve study in my condominium and has funded reserves, saying that, I think the number one issue is safety. And I think there should be choice on whether one wants to have a reserve study, how much they want to pull, they don't want to pull. I think that's the big issue. I think taking safety is the number one issue, and what's safe for the condo. Then the second stage is how you want to deal with the numbers related to the safety. Do you want to have everything ready to spend? Do you want to assess as they happen? And I think that's a individual choice that a condo has to make.
Okay.
I don't live in a condo, but I used to live in a condo. And
But you sell them, you know
I
them.
sell them and I look at budgets and I look at reserve studies. And there's definitely a variety of ways that associations approach money that they expect to spend in order to maintain their buildings. And I am in, and I almost wonder if a big piece of this is to force associations to do that kind of analysis, because I think there probably are some associations that they're like, I look at some of the pages and they just have not done a very in-depth analysis of what needs to get done, you know? And so, and there really is no money to be set aside. And when I look at associations that have put money aside, new buyers can take loans on those buildings when a building has not, there's some in some of the older buildings in East Boca, and they have not done any reserves or anything. You have to be an all cash buyer. It really limits besides the fact that your building isn't well maintained, but it really limits the buyers for that building. So I think there are some other, making it mandatory or not, I think a lot of the people in this town are, maybe pretty responsible and affluent and able to pay for it. So whether it's set aside or not, probably doesn't affect us too much, but they're probably thinking of some of those buildings that have not set anything aside. And it's going to have other consequences, like make the building more valuable, protecting those people's investment in that building, and of course, safety, which is obviously number one. Yeah, I'm a little torn about it because a lot of times, like these types of things are passed for the types of residents that aren't as astute as the residents that we have here in Highland Beach. I think of some of the lower end buildings who just have not done anything like, and I think that is to protect the residents and owners of those types of buildings. I think this is a really tough question because, like Evelyn said, when, at least, when you have the money there, then at least it quashes that argument that there is no money here to do it. So if you force them to have the money there, you no longer have that argument that there's not enough money in reserves. And then they really are doing the best with that money. Yeah, it's a really tough position. I don't know if there should be some sort of minimum that any astute condo would definitely do. And then it would at least protect some of those condos that have not done a good job at all. And the residents in those condos, I also think of some of those 55 and older condominiums. And if they don't have money set aside, how are they going to pay for needed repairs? If you don't force them, if you take it out of if you make it law and you take it out of the boards, then at least the board can say, it's out of my hands. It's law. We have to set this money aside. And then I think, are kind of protecting those residents. Yeah, it's a really tough situation.
I don't believe that we should be penalizing those buildings that are in good condition and can afford to assess. Why should they be penalized for lesser buildings? That I don't think is fair, number one. Number two, I'll exaggerate to make a point, but the next step is to tell people that they have to start putting money aside to repair their cars. And the step after that is you're going to have to put money aside for your dentistry work because you don't have dental insurance. And I don't think we have a right to tell people what to do with their money. I think it's a gross overreach. We need to educate them. But what recertification does is it takes care of that lesser building that you were describing, because by a certain date, they have to be recertified. And if they're not, then the town is going to go in and make sure that that work is done. So the building is safe. So that takes care of it. Why are we telling them how to save money? I agree with safety, absolutely. Number one, but we are now forcing safety with recertification. So once that's taken care of and then repeats every whatever number of years, we've taken care of the safety issue. So why do we tell them you got to save money against it for the next time? The next time they either finance it or they assess it. If they've done the proper work and they get recertified, which they all have to, 7 years from now, they're not going to be in that bad of shape. The big expense is happening now.
Mhm.
Let me add to expenses. It's a little bit off of this subject, but insurance for condos and HOAs is through the roof. Condos are looking at anywhere from 40–50% increases on their property insurance to 150% increase. Some having trouble even finding it. Those lesser buildings, because they're not recertified, they're not in good shape. Worst case scenario is one that I was made aware of is in Sunny Isle. It's an $80 million building. 80 million, meaning that's the valuation on it. They were paying 600,000 for insurance last year or this year. Next year, because they're not in good condition, they're going to pay $3 million for insurance. And by law, they have to insure, and by law, you have to insure up to the valuation of your property. So there are no choices, they have to do it. So insurance costs have gotten insane. I know our insurance, I've got a $34 million building. It's going to cost us close to $600,000, $565,000. And that's up, an estimate is up 45%, might be even more. So you take the cost that people are going to have to incur for insurance, the cost they're going to have to incur to start putting reserve money away if this thing holds, and the cost that they're going to incur to get recertified. Some buildings are looking at, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 and above assessments just to get the building in shape to be recertified. Some even more than that. So it's getting very expensive to live by the beach. There's going to be foreclosures. There's going to be a reduction in selling price. I don't think Highland Beach will be hurt as much as other areas, but we've had a good ride. So if we drop back a little bit, also, as you were saying, we've got probably a third of our population is homesteaded, so that's not going to affect the assessed value. But those that aren't, assessed value will come down. The assessed value is down. Tax revenue will be down. So our ad valorem taxes that represent some 80+% of our revenue could be somewhat affected. Again, not as bad as other communities. But this is a vicious cycle. And I think what breaks the back for all of these reasons is the requirement for reserve funding. Can't do anything about recertification. Obviously, Tallahassee is going to be working on insurance. Everybody's up in their arms on that. I have no idea what that answer is. But this becomes the perfect storm when you put all three together. Plus added costs just because we're in a 7.5% inflationary spiral. So you got to take care of your employees. So that goes up. It's tough.
If I just add, just to clarify, that's not the only purpose of the reserve study. A reserve study will take things like your pool deck, your pool, all the other, say, what's the life of those things, and identifies every part of your building. So yeah, there's two purposes of the reserve study. One is to really understand what it's going to cost by year in order to keep the standards you want to. So that's another choice that a condo has to make.
Well, the point is not just these 9 items by any means. Total agreement.
Can I
Yeah, so go ahead.
comment? So here we have the situation where insurance, killer, certification, new and demanding. And then, of course, the whole reserve account management. And in that, the state's involved, and we don't have clear guidance. And I think that there are a lot of people are confused, a lot of associations are confused, let alone the residents, owners are confused as to what they should do. Yeah, a lot of possibilities. what it means is I see coming, our special assessments are gonna go through the roof. And I don't like special assessments. I am personally against special assessments because traditionally, you only need a special assessment for an emergency or something that was catastrophic. Otherwise, you should have been doing a good job managing the
I
funds.
don't agree at all. Not at all. You have things that need to be repaired. Balconies. Balconies, you got to look at them all the time, but the balconies might be good for 12, 15 years before you have
But
to
that
get
comes
out.
out of the reserve fund.
But
If you do proper planning with the reserve funds, you're anticipating that your balconies are gonna need restoration.
if you have reserves, if you
Right.
don't
Well,
have
you-
reserves,
reserves.
you're going to
I'm
do
not
an
saying you don't.
assessment. If you do the assessment, it's not an emergency. It was planned. You just plan to fund it differently.
Well,
If you
that's a-
have reserves and you sell your apartment, you leave all that money that you have contributed to reserves, you leave it there, you don't get it back, and the next people enjoy the benefits of that money.
I'm just saying that right now, under the requirements for reserves, you have to have money in reserves.
Correct.
And since those reserves are either inadequate, and you have a problem, you're gonna have to go to a special assessment or get a loan,
Mhm.
okay?
Well,
And they
loans
may
are
be in a worse
separate.
position to get a loan because they don't have any reserves, they don't have any cash, and so the bank's gonna say, what are you kidding me? You know, it's not gonna happen.
But why is that my problem? I have a good building that's being maintained properly, and it's recertified.
And you know what? You don't have a problem,
Okay,
okay?
so then why should I have to do reserves?
And I'm not saying you should. I'm saying if you don't have the reserves and your building is having problems and is deficient, you're out of luck because then you have to go to special assessments. Now, the issue there also is because as you kind of indicated, but I'll be more specific. In these buildings that we have in our community, you will have those that have no problem with writing a check. Write a check, done. You also have those that have been here for 20 years on the same fixed income for 20 years and can't afford these kinds of increases. And now you're choking them out. And so we're going to have, you know, what do you call it, gentrification with our elderly people that have to leave these units, sell them because they can't afford to stay, especially if they get hit with special assessments on top of a demand for reserves. If the reserves happen the way, you know, is being
No,
discussed.
I can take a very hard line on that. And this isn't really me, Doug Hillman speaking, okay? But the people that have lived in the building for 20 years and not done the repairs and not kept it up, and now they have to keep it up and it's going to cost them $70,000 in assessment. Well, they didn't spend any money on the building for the 20 years that they were there. So now they're getting caught and have to pay it. Same thing if you own a house. So the reality is now me speaking, yeah, I feel very badly for these people that are going to caught in that. And there are ways to finance, there are ways to borrow, there are families to go to, et cetera, et cetera. But the bottom line is some people are going to leave because they can't afford it.
Yep.
Some also will leave because it's just not worth spending all this money to live by the beach.
And it's
Has nothing to do with what they
absolutely
can afford or
critical
not.
that we ensure that these buildings are safe. We understand
They
that.
have to be safe.
But the reserves is not just concerned about structural integrity and electrical safety. It's also concerned about, you know, your pool patio, you know.
But who cares about the pool? If the pool goes bad and they can't fix it, they're still safe.
Yeah.
And I think we shouldn't be telling people what to do to keep their amenities up.
That's it.
That's not our job.
I agree.
And when we have I don't think we have a right to. They should have a choice. If they choose to put money away for the swimming pool, great. If they choose not to.
So when are you going to Tallahassee? Send that message.
But John, it's a matter of pay me now or pay me later.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yes.
Okay.
And and if
Definitely.
you haven't paid all, you start in with a new building and it's beautiful. And over years, they haven't done anything and it's no longer beautiful. Well, you have an asset that these people used up
You degraded.
and they now have to pay to put it back because the new owners have a right to get that asset in proper condition.
And you don't penalize people that have done things properly for people that haven't.
But you're saying the state is penalizing you. to
Absolutely.
Require you to have reserves in addition to what.
And
you've
I'm
done.
saying in principle, take the money away. I think the principle of government telling residents what to do with their money
I got
is
it.
totally improper and a gross overreach.
But if the state passes the laws on these
If
reserves,
it's the law, it's the
all
law.
right, then.
Then
end of
we'll do
story.
it. Yeah, of course.
But John, some people want special assessments. There are a lot of people who don't want their quarterlies to go up to cover these costs because then the quarterlies never go down. If you have a special assessment, it covers that specific cost and it doesn't affect your quarterlies. Now, quarterlies are going to rise anyway for a variety of reasons. But if you're taking out a $15 million loan and you're having to cover that out of your quarterly expenses because it's a building loan, your quarterlies are going to go up because you've got to pay that out. And the chances are they will never go back down, even when the loan is paid off, because something else will come up. So, it's a balancing act.
I totally agree.
You
I
know,
understand.
what we-
And you're gonna have winners and losers.
What we've done in my building is we did a special assessment and you had options. You could pay it upfront, which, to be honest, most people did. Or we arranged for financing to pay it out over a 3-year period for those people who wanted to take that option. And then they paid the interest on the loan. The rest of the people in the building aren't paying the interest because they paid the money up front. So we accommodated those people who are on fixed incomes, who don't have the ability to write a $15,000 or $20,000 check. There are a variety of ways that you can finance things
I understand.
so that, no one's happy, but everyone's okay.
No, but the message that the mayor is talking about, I think is the right one. In that you can't have your cake and eat it too, and that you got to maintain the building. You should only use special assessments when needed for major projects while not having reserves. If you're forced to have reserves, then you shouldn't need special assessments unless it's really exceptional. But when it's being
No.
forced on,
No, I'm not going to stop you. That's not right. These reserves are against specific items.
Right.
When you have to replace your elevators,
Different.
it's not coming out of this pool of money. This pool of money is only against those 9 items. If you want full reserves, you have to do what David's building is doing. I'm assuming it's full reserves. Then you have all these items. There's, 18, 20 items or something. More than that even. And you fund them.
and that's fully funded.
That's one of
One of the options that the state's looking at doing, right?
No,
No.
no.
Well, I
The
know you're saying
state,
that, but I.
read the damn bill then. I read the bill.
Yeah.
Okay, the bill specifies 9 items. And the 10th is what we discussed. I don't want to be redundant about it again.
And the reason why they're having these follow-on conversations to revise the bill has included a discussion that says it should be fully funded. That's what I've heard from 2 different other associations.
Well, I don't care what you heard. Be careful of the word fully to begin with.
Right.
Fully funded means.
Separate than pooled. I understand that.
No.
No, that's
don't-
not what it
Let me
means.
finish.
Okay.
Let's assume that the 9 items all were $100,000 for replacement,
It's 10,000 each per year.
10,000 each, added up, that's how much you got to put in. So your reserve requirement would be $90,000 the first
And
year.
if any one of those line items all of a sudden breaks and it'll take 20,000 to fix.
Yeah, if you're pooled, you can use it to replace it.
Right.
Or-
If you're full.
Doesn't even have to be fixed. It has to, be wearing out or whatever. But it's only these items. It doesn't include a whole slew of other things like swimming pools and elevators, et
Generator.
cetera. Yeah. That's a bigger list and that's a lot more money.
Yeah, also the fully funded doesn't mean you've got to put in, if you have a $1 million roof, you don't have to have $1 million in that fund if you've got 30 years left on the
Prorated
roof.
over the
I'll give you an
life.
example. We looked at my building and I did my building because obviously that's the one I know the best. And I talked with somebody that knows what all these things cost. And it would cost each resident in my building approximately $5,600 per year to write that check, to fund the requirement. That's on top of all the other increases we're putting through. And that's every year. And then you review it each year, and what you put down that's going to cost $1.5 million, next year you might look at, oh, it's going to be $1.7 million. So you adjust. But so you're asking them to somehow pay the 5,600 and the 2 years of big insurance increases and probably another one next year. Okay. And the inflation and the cost to get your building recertified. Talking about significant expenses here for each unit owner on a building that's not in good shape.
So it should be noted that once you are recertified, while your insurance costs may not go down, they will probably not go up the same amount.
Oh, I'm glad you brought
Because-
it up. Yeah, we benefited from that for sure.
Yeah, and also you may be able to go to a different insurance company because your building is in better shape.
Now, if you were in Broward County and you're not recertified, you're not getting insured. Because Broward has had recertification for like 20 plus years.
Right.
And our insurance guy, who's pretty damn good, said that it's almost impossible to get an insurer to cover him and to get through the layers that are required for the insurance if they're not recertified. Because number one, they're breaking the law. Okay. And number two, they're not in great shape. So the insurance company, if they're going to, it's a whole lot more money. And then to get the second layer, third layer, fourth layer to get it fully insured, he said it's just mind boggling. He just can't get enough insurers to participate. Everybody know how insurance works on the layers and all?
Reinsured,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can have 5, 6 layers. And then the other problem is the insurance companies insure. And they're not getting enough on their insurance. So the capacity of insurance is down on top of less insurers, et cetera, et cetera. It's a total mess. Anything else? We beat this up pretty good.
So I would say we have another discussion of it at our next meeting. And then we could talk over, do we want to take a more formal strategy or implement a formal strategy to deliver our collective message to the legislator? We can work through, there's the mayor's group of the Florida League of Cities that the mayor belongs to. There's your Boca Highland, Delray Association. I guess Delray's part of this. So
Yeah, they are. They were just added.
yep. So they can be another group or a voice, the Florida League of Cities, and that legislative group and some of the policy committees. I can go to committee meetings. I had a conversation with Commissioner Gossett Sideman, or actually Representative Gossett Sideman. It's going to take a while for me to rechange that. But she's willing to carry that torch for us forward too. So maybe we, think about it. It was a pretty good discussion. So think about it and see if there is some collective thoughts and opinions we have, and we could carry that forward.
Fine.
Okay.
Everybody comfortable?
Can
Yeah,
I
sure,
guess
Barry.
I would like to also hear from like Seagate Association, the older Seagate Association members, the Monterey.
Well, we discussed it at
building.
our meeting with the condo presidents. Now Seagate wasn't there, but other condos were there and they all felt the same.
They all felt like Wiltshire, like I think of some of the older buildings. I don't know what they're,
My guess is they would have a very similar opinion because they just put a huge investment in it that people are probably a
That's what
little
I'm saying.
heartburn about. So they're, now you're going to charge me more for the next time, 30 years from now. So I
Or-
think,
or they could be in a position of, they would rather have, maybe they didn't have reserves before, and maybe they want to, going through this painful process, maybe they would prefer to have reserves because it might make it a little easier the next time. I mean,
Or because they consider themselves almost new, that like new condos, they have very low association fees because there's nothing to fix right away.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
so do you have to pay off assessments on sale? Or do you guys make the current owner pay it off before? Or can you pass along your assessments to the next owners?
It's part of the contract.
well,
It's what happens.
Yeah, sort of, not
Oh,
sort
I hit a nerve,
of.
sorry.
Once it has been assessed and passed by the board, it's stuck like glue to that unit.
Right.
So if they then sell the unit, the current owner has to pay it off.
Oh,
You
wait,
can
no,
put it in the
no, it
contract where the
depends.
seller has to,
Oh,
pay.
yeah.
It's part of the
It
contract.
depends on how you fund it.
They can negotiate. If, let's say there's a $5,000 assessment that is made. The obligation is the current unit owner. Now, he or she can negotiate that in her sale or his sale to the new owners. But it has to be paid before we will release it.
That is correct.
Okay.
But the point is, it can be negotiated, but it does have to sit with the seller.
Okay, now just for education purposes, if the association, the building takes a loan,
Right,
it's now an association loan
right.
signed off, by the board. That is not a personal obligation. That's an obligation that's against the unit. So if 2 years afterwards, and you're now just starting to pay your loan off, if a unit owner sells that unit, the loan is still there. And they don't have to pay it off because it's not against them, it's against their unit.
Right.
So that's a big reason why many times they will not assess, but they'll take a loan. Okay.
Yeah.
You've run into this. Okay, a good idea. Let's all think about this a little bit. And at the next meeting, put it on the agenda and we'll decide what to do, if anything. Okay, are we done with that?
Yep.
Move on to commission comments. Commissioner Stern, do you have anything?
Yes, I do have one. I'd like to request that the spending limit for the town commission, as required by our charter, be revisited, and after determining an appropriate dollar amount, propose a revision to the charter. I request this item be put on the next agenda and ask the town manager and finance department to provide the dollar limit history and what the number would be in today's dollars from the original $350,000 as a reference point from many, many years ago.
Done. Unfortunately, we can't do anything on the next one, but down the road, we can then again.
We still have to start moving forward. I
Yep.
think it's a very important topic.
Agreed. Anything else? Okay, we'll just work it down.
Okay. I guess can we decide which meeting we're going to review the strategic priorities?
So they're gonna
The strategic, can we
We
decide
were working on that. You want me to,
be strategic priority.
for the strategic priorities? We usually do it in the beginning of the year. Can we just decide?
you want a special
which one?
meeting?
No,
Just
I don't know.
meeting?
Maybe a workshop meeting would be.
We can get a
better.
draft by the January 3rd meeting, I believe. Looking at Eric in the back, no, Teresa's been hammering away at it, so I think we should be goodish. Yeah, we should be able to present where we're at status one and then say, do we want to add more, regroup,
Yeah,
things of that.
That'd be
nature.
great. Good idea.
This might be a couple meetings, like you're saying, to get
Okay.
it.
So we'll
Because we've been
touch base
tracking
on it.
after every meeting, Teresa and I will meet and be like, that's a new one, progress on this one, so we need
Yep.
to get that to you, correct? Well taken.
And yeah, and then are you thinking at that meeting, we would discuss what we think are our priorities, like we would revisit what's on?
Well, let's
that-
see how much volume is there, how many there are. It might be that we all take them back, we think individually about it, and then at the next meeting, we carve out half an hour, whatever it takes.
I'll try to get it to y'all before the holiday, so we have a couple weeks, since we don't have a meeting on the 20th, maybe something
That would
you
be
could
good.
put on the kitchen counter when you got some downtime, flip through it or something,
Think about it.
yeah.
Something where we need to kind of
Yep.
process and,
Yeah, this is something shouldn't be rushed. So
Right.
if it's a significant list, we ought to carve out sufficient time for it.
right,
Yeah,
right.
with you.
Okay,
Yep.
so we'll start at January 3rd. You'll give us an update. Okay. And then just wanted to remind everyone about the town entry signs. Please submit your ideas. The due date is coming up. We've got about 2 months. So February 10th is the last day to submit ideas. And you can email them to the townsign@highlandbeach.us, or you could drop off a hand drawn or a hard copy at the town hall. So that's it.
Yep.
Other than wishing everyone a happy and healthy holiday season and new year, no.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, this whole conversation about reserves is really interesting. I was just elected to be president of the condo association for the Clarendon, which was a bit of a surprise to me, but that's the way it's worked out. And now I've got even more headaches, but
Condolences.
you, buddy.
Then get that building up to speed. Come on.
Exactly. I'm right in the middle of trying to convince them, what do we do with all this money that we don't have? The meeting last night with the, accessory marine facilities was excellent. I thought that it was well done in terms of the support that was given at the library, having it recorded, the town support, the town manager and the staff did an excellent job. And I think we got a couple more to go. Very good conversation, good input. Something I learned an awful lot about. I will share though, I'm surprised that there's some resistance towards providing ladders out of the intercoastal. But I'm learning what those issues are.
Oh, I can help you out on that for a second. One of the reasons why people on the intercoastal have resistance is many of them are gone for the summers. Or they just take, an extended 30-day trip or something, and the house is empty. And they fear that just invites somebody to bring their boat up, climb up the ladder, and they break in the house. That was one of their main concerns.
And to me, a land invasion would be more likely than one by
Well,
sea.
I didn't say I agreed with it. I'm just reporting.
But the other one is, I can't understand the idea of restricting property owners from building a pier on their property or a dock if it's on their property, right? I mean, it's inside their property line. To me, I don't know why we would be stepping into that, but I saw what was presented. That's why it's a great meeting to attend. If you have concerns about marine accessories, you really should go to these meetings. Okay. Next point is food trucks. I want to make sure I understand. We're going to have 4 trucks, one of them being dessert, or is it going to be 4 food plus 1 dessert?
I think 3 food, 1 dessert and hot dogs. Everybody loves Pat making the hot dogs. So we will do what we can. Mingle Jingle, great success. Everyone loves it. The trolleys. We have parking. So either it's beautiful, walk, electric scooters, bicycles. We will. I'm just saying that, or if you want to walk or take the electric scooters and things of that nature, please come on in. It's going to be a great event. It's great.
So it's absolutely great. All of a sudden, a lot of people are talking about, Mingle Jingle and all. And so the question really is the 4 enough? The 3 food stuff.
We keep trying.
I know.
And we keep
But it's
tweaking
20
after each one, and
We should expect a 20-minute wait, right?
I thought the food tickets work really well to keep people from ordering like 8 things. That really jams up the lines. I talked with the owner of Troy's and I said, come on. I mean, you're the most popular vendor there. Prepare for a larger event to the tune of 3 times. And he agreed. So we'll see because he's super popular. I mean, like everybody, people got there early just for put the early order in with Troy.
Exactly.
So we got to really think about this.
That's
and get it
barbecue,
going.
if anybody.
Plus, having one guy work everything in one truck, that's tough. I mean, he's sweating bricks and the lines are too long, but anyway. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, I can answer part of your question on property ownership and why are we concerned? If you remember, some of the property ownership was out in the water
Right.
also. So
But if the
They
property
would-
line is in the water in the intercoastal, what's the issue?
it's not the intercoastal, it's canals. That's the biggest thing. And the issue
But the
becomes,
example given was on the intercoastal,
well, take that example, apply it to a canal.
then I understand.
Oh, thank you.
That's not the issue. On the intercoastal, if the property line is,
Whole nother story. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anything?
Happy holidays, to everyone. Be safe. Have fun.
You bet.
Thank you again. Mingle Jingle, right? It's a good time. Everybody, please attend. We'd love to see everyone. We'll have some handouts. So we got some new swag, if you will, for everyone that shows up. They can get there, get a hat. So that'll be kind of cool. We'll have hopefully some updated drawings of the fire station massing, a little bit different, similar, but a little bit different, but we'll get a chance to get that out there. Again, I've been invited to the Palm Beach Days, which is in March. So if you have legislative issues, things like this that we've talked about, let me know. I'm going. I will be there. We have a great opportunity with Peggy there to help us navigate that maze, along with former Representative Caruso, who's in a new district. He still loves us here, so he would help us as well. So if there are things we need to get up and tweak, we will do that. Working through a few Delray issues. Check your email. You know what I'm talking about. Strategic priorities, we'll get that going. But otherwise, just, happy holidays, happy New Year's. Thanks to everybody. It's been a wonderful 22. I look forward to 23. It should be an exciting time. While unsettled, hopefully we can find some predictability in it all and succeed moving forward as we always have. Our financial health is strong here in the town. So everybody, sleep well at night. We got you, and happy holidays.
Okay, before we sign off, welcome to David. And we obviously made a good choice. He was additive to the group. Thank you. And just everybody happy, healthy holiday. Good to see it. And see you next year. Thank you all. We will adjourn at 3:46.